May all other sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness which is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all other sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness which is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. Sashi Puju Shushin Nefrutam Rira Shine Genpadi Sanje Shila Mekte Puari Rokunanda Shindu Kivarshu Chaksa Vadam Shunjin Shampadam Jesu Yuran Kushin Suvai Dewa Chuje Dagi Chisapa Tamje Zope Chamju Chuno. The ground is sprinkled with scented water and strewn with flowers. It is adorned with marus, the 3 mountains, the 4 continents, the sun and moon. As a food field I offer it. May all sentient beings attain the happiness of the food fields. Whatever merit I have gathered through prostrations, offerings, confessions, rejoicing, beseeching, and praying, for the sake of the enlightenment of all sentient beings, all this I dedicate. 12. Request for teaching. Semchen Namki Sampadam Loye Rajutawa Chechun Tumonte Baye Chojun Koro Koro Choju Shupe Sanjela Tano Jate Sovani Semchan Marik Mutuna Choki Jome Badu So. Please turn the wheel of the Dharma, the 2 vehicles in the combination, according to the dispositions and likewise the mental capacities of sentient beings. With my hands folded in prayer, I supplicate the Buddhas abiding in the 10 directions. Please shine the lamp of Dharma for sentient beings obscured by the darkness of ignorance.
Tatalon Zimber Canonze, Origin Bochela, Sansa, Hidden Kalan, Chira, Jumpuria, and the Poet on the Zelena. Jared Bagona, Sanzepe, Gajurum Bochela, Sansa, Jimiras, Jungo, the Monte Shizong, Bochetawa, Tamjin Bagun, Jijis, and Metrogon, and Sansa. Roman Chichen Japorana, Sanje Kunjung Owen, Rasen Jugong was on Donze, Zavela Majala, Sansa, Dasus Jetam Jeja, Ochusan Rovers in Jelab, the Sorulam, the Rovers in Jelab, Lantrabas was in Jelab, the Zon Trabai, and Javas in Jelab, the so. Tene Toma Dayan, Samalan, Sandra Shoka Deletan, Tene Yantran, Caps Papa, Sanjay Pami Amnesia, Tane Pami Gomde, Chick called Chagayores.
Can you hear me? Yeah?
Now,
Okay, good, perfect. So again, first, good morning, everyone. Today, again, we will be doing the Amitabha practice, and we will continue the teachings on how to engage in this practice.
Then Konondero Mone Tamju Jimbele Ni Tambe Chutanjar. Then the Kapsa Papa Sanji Pami Yamnesi and Lugana Kawazambu Chungari Zangaranga Gawa Gom Tendichi Gores. Then Gawa Gom Tendichi nothing like the Chunyamni Lobjons Patega Tangloji Hakuya. Rintaji Hak Koyana Titility same the date of the was and then got Chimbuchavers. The dates at the time, Gonong Chaver, Gonong de on the Kawazam and the John Simji Tamji cheated in a Sanji of Aminamnesi. There had been a Simji Tamji Dewachen Shangji was sort of thing in Yamnita. Obviously, goes up the Tava Gonong in Gores.
And so whenever we engage in Dharma practice or we study, we learn about the Dharma, what's most important is one's intention. So that is to think that I'm truly very fortunate. I have a precious human life. I have the opportunity to have met with the Dharma and the opportunity to practice Amitabha now. So when you think in this way, you see how fortunate you are and rejoice in your fortune. Really recognize the value of having this practice. And so if you understand that, then your mind can also stick with it, can stay with it. And so that's really the main point. So recognize I'm really very fortunate to practice Amitabha, and I'm going to do this practice for the sake of all beings, so that all other beings may also be born in his pure realm. So.
다 대화진들이 대치킨 좀 냠내지 또 돈다 당한 소랑이 심지 탐지 대화진의 제부 쓸듯니 그는 냠내지 지기요를 산지어 밤이데 가장 아주 좋아지 트렌드다는 직디승 공단다라 말아래 바코나 바다라 내로 사자치 먹고는 되니 돈이기 돈의 상대로 지금 거여와 대대 대화지 형이지야 근데시라 수고 말에 나왔을 때 좋아지죠. 네. 저당 승기 탐지 상기에 거래스. 얘네양 상기에 갑을 가보요는데 되냐? 심진 코드 동할 저거 서더니 대화치는 제거야. 대 코너한테 치기 순거요. 라바드 초반지 대송 거더니 산지 대화전에 제어거더니 대친신의 모놈당 소요래서 냠내시는 대화전에 힘을 집에 다 송요래. 라바드 나도 다 포화. 전에 소용고도 완전 포화지 무슨면도 아도 따라 주로 정말 포화열에 따라 상관냐면서 대탐지야 제 코스임지 탐지지 디파 다드바치에 참람상 상지에 두고 미디들이 동안만 보용용용용용데 내감 동안들이야 타르스들이 대화전에 힘 대화진의 지에 탑딘 라버드들이 디포지트 탑스들이 저거 담발라서 그래서 띵거 여러 가지 탐지 가래지네 띵거는 쪼더라 당 코아나는 라데나 코 레다뇽 바칸 니네티네 대겐 레베 동안나는 내가 여러 때인데 대화지 형의 지에서는 띵거 유대 대스나들이 대화지 형의 대치킨 좀 냠네시아도 같이 붙여서 요래서
And so the main point for engaging in this practice, so the practice to be born in Dewachen is so it's so that we practice so that we and others are born there. And the main point here comes in which is related to something we talked about yesterday. Somebody asked the question about the masters like Jigten Sumge and Milarepa, and how have they not sort of went straight to realizing the natural state and attaining enlightenment, and not necessarily kind of taking a sidestep to rebirth in Dewachen first. And so that was an important question. And so the reason why we still practice to take birth in Dewachen is because Of course, ultimately, we want all sentient beings to attain enlightenment, but attaining enlightenment is quite difficult. And because for now, beings suffer tremendously in samsara, those great masters taught these practices of being born in the Pure Land, the Amitabha practice, as a skillful means and method to, first of all, separate them from suffering. Because enlightenment altogether is not so easy. And so, especially Thigden Sumgön actually also emphasized these teachings. There is a prayer by Thigden Sumgön of birth in Dewachen, and also the Jigong Poa practice is really widely practiced. And this is also related to Dewachen and the Buddha Amitabha. And so these practices really actually exist throughout the different Vajrayana practices. And so the reason why we need this practice of birth in Dewachen is because sentient beings suffer tremendously in samsara, and their karma, their obscurations are very thick. These layers are very thick, so they can't just quickly attain enlightenment. And because there's so much suffering and negativity in samsara, and that keeps pushing them down and preventing them for making any progress toward enlightenment. And so for this reason, the Pure Land practice of Dewachen becomes extremely important. So
ngā kō simjī tam jīla tā dēchīn xīngzhō, dēchīn dēwājīn xīngā jīyā ki tēne tē ñamlīn siyā tē pē lō dēwān rō yā rē sī tē nē ngā rō jī hā kō yā yā. Kārī nā ngā rō tā rā jī nē lō sācā chīmbā tō sō xīng rī tōnī kē tāwā dāmi kē tōng tēne nī sī mī pē yī xī sō tē hā kō tō yā kāplē kāpō yōng gō rō. Kārī ngā yu sam ngā ngā sīmjī tamchī ngā yu mārī lāni tē sīchī nē ngā tē hā kōyā kāplē kāpō yō ngā tā jē tā tsōsā dribjān jā chīmbō sūnām chīmbō sā sāngyō yō nā mā tō tā tē sīchī gōm nyōngā tē sīchī jē sī yō tē tēne chōyā tē sō tāng tēne dāmi kī tāwā tōyā tē sō kāplē kāpō yō ngā sā tēne dēwā jī hieng jē jē hieng sā tē o dēwā jī 아주 심지 탐지 대왕도 그요. 다 대화 진세야 지 감지요 봐. 다 되는 거는 다 기와 레드 바이나 티 기와 레소나 톱 텔레티네 티가 기와 스마트네 대화 진에 제요 봐. 그래서 티네 든지 됐을 정하서 저고 대원로지. 롤 대원로지. 다 티네 대 진도요 봐. 수차가 요래서 냠니 진도요 봐. 돈이 따와 짜냐 했다나 레소나 침보 사대요는 배 그래서 이 고라고 요리마다 소나이라 마스는 배 타는 번호 휴자 배 장는 번호지 하고나다 레라고 용거 여러분 대연아야 돼 하마스데 들린 초와데 배 타는 번호지 고아지 할까 가보 용거 여러분 봤어요.
and so sentient beings, for sentient beings in samsara, this particular practice of birth in Dewachen is actually quite simple. So what sentient beings want is to be happy. And the practice of Dewachen is something simple if you just understand the key point. On the other hand, realizing the nature of Mahamudra, or the view of emptiness, or the view of selflessness, or what we call the non-dual primordial wisdom, to truly realize that is very difficult. And it's difficult because sentient beings believe that I exist. And this makes it very difficult to truly understand the view of emptiness. So, in other words, without great merit and purification of obscurations, it's hard to realize the true meaning of selflessness. And so that is why this Pure Land practice is so important. So all sentient beings want happiness. And so when they hear about this, that there is this pure land and there is just perfect happiness, and they know that if I truly practice, if I focus on this practice, I actually can be born there after this life. And that is something that's easier to understand, and it more easily and more naturally inspires a wish to practice when they just hear about it. Um, Whereas when if one teaches just only the view of emptiness, it may be easy to understand for someone with great merit, but without this huge amount of merit, these teachings on emptiness seem a bit disconnected, a bit distant, almost unreachable to us. Of course, if you have the merit and the purification, then the meaning comes to you easily. But otherwise, if you don't have this immense merit, then just explaining the view of emptiness is very difficult to truly grasp.
Tene ta jumsi su mangbo yorwa te so ende tene marazo tara bugin namba nane tene sanje yo pami kona nyamlen sinye lama mambo chyo yana ngoma ta lama kedaji chamira ga asa tawa yana pe tene pami kona tene dechi hinti ti tene semji tamji tene dewaji shena ko depa tene rodon sanje machapa chan yore tene 다 등상아서 다 내용을 자야하는데 기본적인 부서서 계라 침으로 공변으로 침으로 공개 대신 신지 코나 손에 대리심지 담게 된 대화진의 기회죠. 대 코나를 소환돼야 뭐 남자야 냐면시 텔레그램만 나요. 드니 다 김포 틴제스 따라가서 갈고는 배우를 님은 김포를 공드니 뭔가고는 공 가지는 무지 소요를 공 산지와 밤이 기타 주바리 소요를 너무 싸지 맞춰버려. 드니 공 가고는 배는데 대치 힌트 당드니 포안이 송저게 되는데 되는 냐면지 되니 한테는 노동장도 열해서
So there are many reasons for engaging in this practice. And especially in Tibetan Buddhism, many great masters have focused only on this practice, only on the practice of Amitabha and then the Pure Land. There have been many renowned masters in the past, for example, Charmaraga Asya. He practiced only Amitabha, and this was really his activity to benefit beings. It was to teach that and establish beings in that path to Dewachen. And then more recently, there was Khenpo Chingme Phuntsok, for example. He also focused mainly just on this practice. That's what he taught. These were the prayers that he made, and this is what he inspired others with. And also, in terms of Gar Monastery, there was a Nyingma Lama Khenpo Tenzin, a Lama from the Nyingma tradition, who came to visit Gar Monastery. And when he visited, he also taught only that, and that is the practice that we did. And Dorzin Rinpoche actually said that Khenpo Tenzin, he was actually an emanation of Amitabha. So also at Gargan, through his presence there, we practice the Dewachen and Amitabha practice and the practice of Powa, and that was his way of benefiting sentient beings.
공개더라 로마 탐지를 케린시지를 아마데와 님바사야 아마데와 동사니 야마는 사야사니 드니드니 드리진의 케린지지 케린지 탐나더니 동사바에는 이 손무지에 코르긴 기커리서 드리드리진의 끌마시 드니 다를 리딘데 마사 마르나 양의 사고 삼벌로요 빠삼 그때는 케린지는 되게 요소 드리진의 끌만한 그래서
And so he, that was Khenpo Tenzin, he inspired, encouraged his students to commit themselves to a certain number of accumulations. So, for example, he said that you can commit to 200 in your lifetime, 200 million accumulations of the mantra, or if you can, then you can do 2 million accumulations of this mantra. If you can do that, then he said, I can guarantee you that you will not be born in the lower realms at the very least. And even if you can't complete these mantras that you have committed to in this life, if you simply hold the intention, the commitment toward that, then this promise still holds true. So this is how he inspired people to do this practice.
다 말아서 대화진의 집에 주여서 다 산재 밤에 냠니 조 세인들이 조 말아서 대화진의 집에 주여야 돼 대학 대학원들이 가장 많아서 담보들이 산재 대화지 감이를 진파시 대화지 신강의 용대다 드니티는 요 산재요 밤이다 드니 제네스 나 대친 똑똑서 세베드니 산재요 밤 소스테다 탐지기 용대 신랍 그종하게 하고 될 담보티 초긴 산데스 때때로 대바침보 제 산지 맞아붙이 되니 대화지 노노 로고를 봐스 되니 니바데 조산초 심지 다 심지 탐지기 지 심지 탐지 대화진이 집에서 되는 산재요 밤에 냠니 지고 산 되니 되는 수난사 개어트 대치 되니 가장 많아서 공든 따로 잔진로요 레스 다 드랭 가서 봐봐 텔라드니 주스마데 되니 저 초사 주장스 저 초사 주장 다 대화진의 제인데 되니 대화진의 제와그 저 초사스는 조정하게 수남 그 초다 미게 수남 초다 미미 이게 되니 초자신 보사야 저바장세 당 랑게 제와 처럼만 보는 사이에 되니 득점이 통대다 담지 파자야 되는 초사 주장스는 저스바 대책을 해서
We mentioned yesterday those 4 causes of birth in Dewachen. And so in the practice of Amitabha and the Pure Land practice, this is the point that we need to understand, the main point that we need to understand. We need to understand those 4 causes to be born in Dewachen. So yesterday we first talked about the first cause, which was the support, that is to visualize the Pure Land and to understand the qualities of the Pure Land and the main deities of the Pure Land of Amitabha, Chenrezig, and Amitabha. So to understand their qualities, their blessings, to visualize them, and when you understand those, when that is in your mind, then a wish to be born there will arise. So that's the point of the first cause, that you develop this wish to be born there. And then secondly, we also mentioned yesterday, the second cause is the supporting kind of condition, that is bodhicitta. And so here we cultivate the intention, I will practice Amitabha and the Pure Land for the benefit of all sentient beings, to bring all sentient beings there. And for this reason, we must accumulate a vast amounts of merit. So we cultivate bodhicitta. We want all beings to be born there. So we briefly touched on it yesterday as well. And today we come to the third cause, which is to accumulate merit and purify obscurations. So another cause to be born in Dewachen is to accumulate great merit, that is called the accumulation or the conceptual accumulation of merit, and then also the non-conceptual accumulation of wisdom. So those 2 accumulations of merit and wisdom, along with purifying obscurations. In order to be born in Dewachen, we have to practice to purify our negativities, our obscurations, our faults and downfalls that we have accumulated throughout many lifetimes. So.
Then 초사 주장세 조어된 거라 이나 dunju 거는 남교 초사 주장이 이나 dunju 거는 지기요. then the la dong get that the that's the not jutam nani the dema chupani chuki so yo do wasya.
And then the practice of accumulating, gathering those accumulations of merit and wisdom, and the purification of obscurations is done mainly through the seven branch practice. And in our sadhana, this is found in our sadhana on page 10 and 11.
Tinani Tasila so to some you by Javas Tamjila Gunitam Sansalos Das Namjus Sansar was Sansar. Tini Sansar and Ditini. So that's what you Sansan and doing like a cosson to the Yunan together, mean and together. Sansan and it's over sanguinanita, so Junior de Sanji, Sancho, somebody, Chavaseta Jepa, Tamjelity. Mage tepa dana chimbo gunitini sansago yorwas te dagun sansago res dandodina tepa dana se so ke chimbo chagar se da jib kune tangwa sansalo kune tangwa se te hako buta tambo sansan sasage yorgo yongti de hako yongti to sanji machabari sanitini telanga ki tepa dana jenitini sansawa ina tini piyon de nyugo yores so ta san 차야 된 내가 침보여래. 지금 인증이 되는 만약에 루지골이 들어 딕도 망보 사가요래. 대다 탐지 파장거 루지 좀 봤다 무슨 되니 산사라 소 나라 정문도는 요 산살고에 짐세도 망보여래. 루지골이 봤다 좀 자야. 맨날 사초 탐문이잖아. 대기 피용 리발이ያን 대기 피용. 되는 인가리ያን 대기 피 텔레디는 아그 릉아 이성 좀 탐지 파자야 봐. So 그 바짐 세요래. 되네 따라 또 산사에 돈다 집이 연 거래. 남용만한 게 줄었지. 따라 녀모방에 나는 나자를 써야지 연 거로. 되는 나자를 요사되더니 이제는 그 바도 지기요만은 나자를 써야 되고 코란배 휴지 착본으로지 열어와. 다 텔레티인데 되는 나게 티 나자 텔레티네 마기 마게와 망보치 사거다 마이임발란 린세 마이임발란 통총 야콘조스는 그자미바 마심지는 닝기 제와미바 때 탐진 나기 줄어드는 마자텔티는 요거요 마자텔티리 용도 중가르세는 마자텔기 레산으로 레산틴 틸레 가르사거 마게와 레사 틴 제버티 동안용이고 데인데 테 장거 대 마자오이나 된 대와도 토고요 말봐 대 장고서나 되네 산세야서야 돼 탑딩인 거다 마자긴 임불 산사를 대대들이 돌드나 nga yesam jugon tene tepa tango bone tene sansen tene so chopa jaya ta nga jargi nipo sapale ta ni panjo ya so yung ko sa reja.
Right. And then Janasadhana first it says, with sincere faith, I pay homage to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas abiding in the 10 directions and 3 times. So this is prostration, the first of the 7 branches. And so that's just the prostration that we know that we always do, the physical prostration. And so for that, imagine that there's all the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, and you're prostrating before them. If you have any representations of enlightened body, speech, and mind, you can prostrate in front of them, before them. But if not, you can just visualize all the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, and with strong faith and a pure view, you prostrate, you offer physical prostration. And so a key word here in this line is this sincere here. So it's in Tibetan, it's that last one, gunne dangwa. So dangwa alone would be just faith, and then gunne is like this sincere faith. So the sincere here, that's important. because with sincere here implies that you understand the qualities of who you're prostrating to. So you're prostrating to these Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and you think they are so incredible, they are so unimaginable. And so you really feel a lot of faith and inspiration. And when you feel that as you prostrate, then the prostration becomes actually meaningful. And generally, prostration is very meaningful because when we prostrate, we purify the obscurations and negative karma that we have accumulated with our bodies. The Ngundro teachings explain that in much more detail. For example, they explain that how the significance of, for example, joining your palms first on your crown, there's a meaning to that. And then what does it mean when you join them at the throat, and then when you join them at the heart as you do a prostration. So yeah, each of these gestures that we make when we prostrate has a very specific meaning. But the main point of prostration is that prostration is an antidote to pride. Our mind is often full of pride. Of the 6 afflictive emotions, when we become prideful, the mind becomes, it solidifies. The mind becomes a very kind of hardened. It's a very kind of dense emotion, and because of pride, we look down on others, and we are full of ourselves, and we humiliate others. We don't see of the value, others, and we become competitive with others. And we lack respect for the 3 jewels, and we feel no compassion for sentient beings. And having pride leads to negative karma. Because we're prideful, we do negative things, and then this will result in future suffering. So prostration is the antidote to pride. It purifies these obscurations that are related to the body and to pride. And so prostration is basically a skillful way to purify these obscurations and to cause happiness in the future. So it's important when we prostrate to prostrate in brief with body, speech, and mind completely sincere, with a sincere faith and a pure perception toward our object of prostration. And then in this way, we prostrate in this way, it purifies our obscurations, and it becomes a direct antidote to pride.
Tani penna ngara sotara sosok kambana na inari ta pen lang na yogo ngara ti chitsona na yogo yo na tani chitsona na yo nga sena pe semna ti kuba tang tande jene o lang na tani sanje da sanjo sapatam ji yudiyo sangara ta lagtin mambo yo pen sanje ko tangka tana songra tamji ko song tuk chama tena yusa tenga gawa tang chowa tang tangwa tang jebu gone tene kunjo song ko yonti so yile chine ne sasum chawa na lana lepte sasum chatna chira te patao joba patmi pa jantu leje joba pe tago yores tene ngak so nam to stop yores chutu de drupchina tap nenga di hisona ko lai lao ji den druptwech ta nenga ma hina tini yanko kable hu jabdena yan rewa toya kable khapo yongoro zobondo na ngara lana lemde ti konjo song yongti trene tel hajang ga hin towngane tini tel de patana ngone sasum sin disuna saji machaba ji tutukira tamago lai lao tini sunam chibu druptya ti pati pa jantu ya tu Korangi to you younger as Benadara student song demon song was Dongsun Jiti Ramjang Tangmi Ba Rinchin Jingang Jimba Simba Obama Bensit Dewachi Trinity Tamojas and the day Sunam Chivar song also that on that song is enough
동선 직진에서는 동선 직진 ramjan 장미 받지 직진 감 장미 받지 마대부터 망보는 더저 배자친 보티는 되네 럼보치 강 럼보치 단노고 다시 당 얼라 수보겠더니 강이야 공조선의 표야부터 순남 당스 대순남다 아 되네 밤이 벤친다 되와지 튜네 대비 탐모제선 다 대답 순남다 동선직이 자진부터 야 생그 렌탕的 잡았던 비와 침보와 표결 대순남 침 순남직 미끼 순남 자침보로 순남 하장 그 자침보레스 되네 로지 되네 산지어 밤에다 대화지 신감도 일을 팀바 삼지 산지어 밤에 일을 팀 산대화지 신감도 일을 팀네 되네 일을 팀바 다양대다 용딘 담링아 그 밤에 용딘 투 대화지 용딘 투네 되네 될 하장게 되는 아기 대파침보고네 되네 대파침보이 다스닝 나눈 대파침보지 되네 될 산이 탐무지하고 좀 세바이나 되네 다른 인바 동순 직대람자는 다른 뭐지 강을 표기할 때다 산지어 밤에 되네 일을 대표 담고는 뒤에서 탐무지하게 돼 대탐무지하게 되네 소나 자 담만고 대체를 들순고도 하지 아 내가 하거나 배생고된 대바다는 요바테는 되네 야 급하거네 다 대답을 전하더니 소나 산지만 잡던 도고도 하지 다들 자미기 송도 하시라가 데모는 되네요.
So if you now you're in your home, your shrine at home, or you come here to the temple or any temple or here at the center, if you come here and you see these holy objects of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas here, and your mind is filled with deep respect, and you see this as a sacred space, where you see those statues and tankas and the scriptures and so on, you feel that the three jewels are really present here. That all the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, they're actually here. So if you are really inspired by faith when you come here, for example, then with that kind of faith, if you just do only 3 prostrations, that itself can purify countless karmic obscurations and accumulate vast merit. That is, if you understand this key point. If you understand this key point, practice becomes very easy and powerful. But if you do not understand just this one key point, then even with great effort, even great effort will not bring you great results, actually. So you have to understand this one key point. So when you arrive at the temple here, for example, and you simply recall the qualities of the 3 jewels and do 3 prostrations with that understanding, you can accumulate enormous amounts of merit. And it's very simple to do. It takes very little time. It's very easy to do, but it brings great merit, great benefit, and it purifies many obscurations. In the prayer of birth in Sukhavati in Dewachen, it says, if you offered countless universes filled with jewels and precious substances to the 3 jewels, that merit would still be less than the merit of simply placing your palms together with faith in Amitabha and Dewachen. So this is how vast the merit becomes when you think of Amitabha and his pure realm with devotion, with the sincere faith. So this is the key point. If you understand this and you generate such a sincere faith and a pure view, great respect, then just a simple gesture like a prostration or joining your palms together will create an immense amount of merit. And so this was taught by Changme Raga Asya in the aspiration prayer of birth in Dewachen. So.
다른 너들은 나게 내가 내키는 든지 소남 사야도야 레라오 든지 사태는 연구요래스 다 니파데 주바브레는 도스 메토두 말메 저자제로 몰라서 저를 이제 주는 걸 바보 소지 예수 하세 되려 거서해
Oh, sorry, I forgot to unmute. So in brief, if you understand this key point, then merit is accumulated very easily. So that's the first point. And now the second point is, second branch is making offerings. In the text, it says, I offer flowers, incense, lamps, fragrances, food, music, and the like, actually arranged and mentally created. Supreme gathering, please accept them.
다음 초사 르바장스네 다다르 초사스네 초사드더니 말한게 숨남사 그여라 숨남사한테더니 양추바프리아스 추바페르더니 단 추바드는 추바를 망보용 거는 라면 당 무슨 저런 추바 이제 트르번 추바 드네 공도 장분 추팅 드네 다드 종원 추바 다드 마종원 추바스 다드서 망보 용거 여러 와스 다 저 다른 자생나는 가르친 것은 매도 당하는 배나 다 나가는 레미나리 공조성군도 나서다 공조성군도 나더니 매도 부야도 다 매도 부야 매도도 부다더니 말매 되네 주차 샤제로 모스타 맞아 아간파데 비베요와 다 데이터더니 추파나바지 야도 표현 걸 표현되더니 용용 많이 짜침 망보 도서더니 자진이원한테 편패야 보여요. 무슨 조나 무슨 조르스 무슨 아기 저널람 조요나 단도되나 배나가서 메토라도 메토드 가르치는 건지파요. 지바인지도 조르 메토드 조르 배때다 좀지바 탑지 표적을 다지 메토지 보마이 봐 배낭 강바 모라 다 좀지바 탐지 야피는 저게 요래서 근데 누구였으나 알아서 다 주마힘 보러 왔다 어디는 삐빠네 그 주마힘 봐 대답하더니 주마힘 보 야피야 군조스나 근데 말메스 데려와 가서 단 주메 야더니 로긴 주메를 단 주메 등자 론주 망보도 왔더니 뭐마나 그마 말게서 여러 말메스 등자야 찍대 연구도 왔더라 라죠 저소용을 단도된 뜻은 주면 짱마인 봐 말이나리 라조기나리 짱마 야피야 근데 망보표는 표점도 차팅이나들이 저 망보표점은 고요해서 야제는 따라가면서 사마 실라로 저어가지고 또마 연구도 야제스나 이나 저 돈다 세제를 되니 단도되는 세제를 이나 쪽으로 약고 줬으나 피는 너는 나랑 창바치서기 열 벤다 나기 지수다처럼 열 창바 가르치 제사가 열지 갈래지 요나야 내 나랑 원때 약본 통거로 약보통은 나한테 창바치대로 다때 약피고레스 다수다 저러서 몰라서 사마 무슨 조박강 유바 다양 나를 전원론 주요 그냥 풀마 풀었지 그냥 가게 앞을 남주들이 지나는 저거여서 말이야 나는 무슨 전원요나 야 고쳐서나 피야 들치고여서 해서
So then next is making offerings. And so there's many, so first of all, previously we have accumulated merit and purified obscuration. So after we have accumulated merit, then we have something that we need to offer. We need to offer it. So there's many different kinds of offerings. For example, there is actual, like material offerings. There is mental offerings, like things that we visualize. There is the Samantabhadra offering clouds. There are things that we own and also unowned things that can be offered. But here in our root verse, it mentions flowers, incense, lamps, perfume, food, music, and so on. So it's Argam, Bad, and Bube. These are the 8 traditional physical offerings that we arrange, and they are placed on the shrine and then offered to the 3 jewels. And so this offering that we arrange for the 3 jewels shouldn't, if possible, shouldn't be very small or limited. Of course, depending on our own capabilities and what we can afford, we should offer as vast and beautiful as possible. For example, if we offer flowers, so the meaning of flower is the flowers represent form, physical form. To be offering physical form, meaning that you can also offer anything else that is beautiful in form. It doesn't necessarily have to be a flower, but a flower represents form. You can also offer a house or a car, and so on, to the 3 jewels, with this intention of faith and offering it to the 3 jewels. And then there's incense, for example, that represents any pleasant smell. So it doesn't just have to be incense; it can be any fragrant, pleasant smell that can be offered to the 3 jewels. And then there is lamps or butter lamps, and that represents any kind of light offering. Traditionally, in the past, we used butter lamps, or butter, to make these lamps, these candles. And nowadays, there are so many different kinds of light sources, many different lights that we could offer. So what matters is that we offer something that is kind of clean and bright, and we offer it with respect. And so if you can afford to offer an abundance of these offerings, then do so. But if you cannot afford it, then just you can offer as much as you can, basically. The main point is to do it with a pure intention. Then there's also the food offerings, or shall I say the food that is traditionally represented by a Dharma. But again, it can be anything edible, anything that is food. So this shalse represents any food offering. And so altogether, these offerings of the senses, of form, sound, smell, touch, these offerings mainly represent an offering of whatever we like the most, whatever you are attached to, whatever delights your 5 senses, you should offer that. So if you truly love something, if you really like something, that's exactly what should be offered. Also, if you can afford to make these offerings, you could make these offerings, but you're holding back and you only recite it with your mouth. You just verbally offer something, but you don't actually give anything. So that's also not a proper offering. But again, it's just whatever you can afford if you can. If you can, the point is to make the offering really genuinely to the 3 jewels. Okay.
Tene musun jorse de rama jonolom ju karen jorwayo na depu ya mina ya chung ina de gore sem de tsangma tene depata na tene pin de gore tene ya yi je trose de ngaga da sem de mi pasin de tur yora mi pasin de turn tapena ombeza ar gana layo na kapte tene tan chupo chobang bo ya piano pena pipe in lam na tene mi kwak tene meto mambo ya pe turne ya puyo mata de tabtene ngaki yiji turne ya tene pine chogoyo tene dad zong asene yindi dad zong de jono tambe ngaki yigi tene ya puyo na chogoyo ya dad mazong che cho pe yido mambo yo de da tamje ya puyo na yo es ta zo kare nengano chikta patugo yo senas tene de ngarazo chik ta zuda tro rizal ra yingi chik chakpa ta himba Then it's also good, you know, long to the solid in a bear challenge, Shin Chachimbo Yoruba. Then it did it in a senasa, so ching the other. Then ching the ten, ching the not the Harlin the Lion Cook, symbol de Gio Marilla, Giosma and David in his own chinur. This is not a chapala subaltine. Delay down, take June, you go to June del Dine. Then take in Pochagota. Dorzin Sengun and De Senat Machunro. Chapa the Senat Chongos and the Jimba Taya Tang Yaconchos and Chupa Prialas. Jimsi Des and the Chigo is Dejamas. Senat Jamas. Jadana also Conchos and Chupa Pujachimo Pu. This is the Conchos and the Tilgona Puyama, cousin Senat Chapa Chimbo, they draw top down. There's an attorney to such a top within the Tangarangti, Senat Dupa Pajaya, the Nissenakora, Chunganroya, Senat and Zinchachunra, the Descent to such girls, prayer to stickers.
So these are at the actual material offerings that we can arrange depending on what we can afford. So if you can't offer much, it's of course still okay, but you just offer it with sincere faith and a pure view, even if it's something small. So just offer whatever you can to the three jewels. Then there's also the visualized, the mental offerings. For example, when you read these lines and you say Argam, when saying Argam, you can imagine this vast oceans of pure water that you're offering. Or when you see Bube, you can visualize countless beautiful flowers and offer them. So even things you don't, they're not actually here, you can mentally visualize them and offer them. And then there's the owned and unowned things. So you can offer anything that mentally, anything that you own, you can also visualize all of that and offer it. And also things that are unowned. For example, a beautiful nature like mountains and rivers and forests and so on. You can bring them to mind and offer them. So a key point of making offerings here is that we are attached to our possessions, our wealth, and to sensory pleasures. And this attachment and this greed, this holding on to, this keeps our mind in bondage. And then because of this clinging fixation, you don't find happiness in this life. And in the future, it leads to rebirth in the lower realms. It's this karmic continuum, this karmic stream that pulls us down. So we make these offerings, we are generous, and we make offerings to the three jewels in order to release our attachment to those things, our greed, our clinging. That is why we offer whatever we are attached to, whatever we like the most, to the three jewels. And so when we offer that to the three jewels, of course, the three jewels themselves, they don't want our things, they don't need any of our possessions. But the reason we offer them is because of our strong attachment. So we are really offering it for our sake, not really because these rituals want something from us. And so then by making these offerings, by letting go, we also begin to free ourselves from our greed and our clinging fixation. And in this way, we purify many obscurations and we release our attachment. So that's the real purpose of making these offerings.
Purya Conchosana Pur said, so mag Sunam Sosa the Ravas. Sunam Sosan Tapena Tato Sanjiananda, Dewachen Jayunanda, Tana Taralitin, Dugit Dewan Timber Tam, Sawadrina Sawalandroya, Zubogit Detang, General to Juptapa. The Tamtian, Munja Sunam Quantin Yogota. Sunam Martina didn't have a young woman. Then the Sunam Yubalatine Taranganzo, Yam Makaki Savadun and Jotabado, the Sunam Sunam Dini, we raise the entity. Tara Conjosuni and Chubamper, Yana Simjin and Long Jimba City, see said Sunam Sanji Machabu, the Sunam de Latin Jeva, Deva said, so Dini, we raise the entity Narangachi. Yena Pimpa Sawa Trivia. I Yena Chikang unit to the Pamyogi Jimba Taya. Ya Conjosun and Chubambuya. Yambena Chuja Sawa Trivia. Te Tamjela Rubasi, Te Tam Chupachagri. The Susuna Sanji Machaba Yup Hako within the thing Narangi. Come to the Yamichi Gores.
So these offerings, the offerings that we make to the three jewels, sorry, we make these offerings for us to accumulate merit, so that we can accumulate merit. And so as a result of this merit, things will go well. For example, ultimately, we attain enlightenment, or we take birth in Dewachen, or even the smallest happiness in this life come from merit. Things like being successful in this life, or being healthy, or having some wealth, some possessions. All of it depends on past merit. Without any merit, none of that can be achieved. So we can see that for some people, things come easily. They accomplish their goals very easily, and that is due to their past merit. So whether it is making offerings to the three jewels, or being generous to a sentient being, or helping someone in need through giving them some wealth, or supporting or engaging in supporting Dharma activities and so forth. All of these are ways to create vast amounts of merit. So understanding this, if you understand this, then you can just do your best to create as much merit as you can.
Tene Tomamine Denadaba Magadan Saminga Senior Dibatami, the Yodinatara Shop in Adiodoas.
And next, number 3 is the branch of confession. It says, I confess all evil deeds, the 10 non-virtues and 5 acts without interval that I have committed, overpowered by mental afflictions since beginningless time until now.
Tomamine is a touch. Chiva Toma Mipane, Tene Tata Pardes, Toma Mipane, Tata Toki Parde, Rangitine, Megeva Churiva, Lujugon and Megeva Sum, Tasso Juba, Mazebelamba, Matsama Juba. The Ningagi gone zone trauma to the last Anchaso here. Ije gone namse no sen lo patawa te tawa te mageva chela. Te ngage namju lole yugoris mageva chote. Te tawa gone te jiva tsera mambul sa yabate mageva chota. Tene semne nyomo wanjo pe semde ra yengichi sem kora nelo ne sem kora nelo kora tang macha der sem kora ngone sem kora hi yodevari ki bunyimu kora tsang macha der yena itara lower tini nyomo ba lenchi ji nyomo ba tsola tini tini ngagi ti semje nelo tsang mata drum sona tsang mata drum tini ti lower ti drupatel tini ta nyomo ba nam tondo tira yingi yongdo go ta se nyomo wang de chupares tini se nyomo wang de chupa se ansa di Ranging le Saroda, le Mageva Sador. Vietnam also two Raji Unako, two the Rain, Ranging the two dege, Kamba Raji and Kamba the Rangi, two the Dendoroko, the two Teletin two Jaja Chador. Petinagiri. That same the Korangi Mageva into the Rai, Kora same the Komageva Sador. Senyu Mongan the Churales, Gypsy Tendins, the Tell Senyu Mong the inside that gave a Tomami, but Dharma, the monk, Koan Chamison, that Tang's going to Tomami, the Totogoma Mangtan. That there in the same new Mubati, the Magiwa, Sayat, didn't ever the Sergeant Machapa Yorota. They led the Sergeant Machapa, Jachimbo Yorova. Then they attempted to Pasha.
So since beginningless time until now, that's how the Tibetan begins. So since beginningless time until now, I have accumulated much non-virtue. I have committed the 10 non-virtues, 3 of the body, killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, 4 of the speech, lying, divisive speech, harsh speech, idle talk, and 3 of the mind, covetousness, ill will, and wrong view. And so these virtues are generally present in my mind. And I have accumulated countless negative actions under the power of these afflictive emotions since beginningless time, since beginningless time until now. Actually, the true nature of your mind is pure. Buddha nature is pure fundamentally. So on the ground, the basis, you are actually pure, completely pure, but this is temporarily obscured by afflictions. And so because of these afflictive emotions and many afflicted thoughts or the conceptual mind, they habitually arise just naturally. So these mental constructs and thoughts that we develop, they just come naturally, habitually, and overpower the mind. And as a result, being always under the control of these afflictions, we constantly accumulate negative karma just on its own naturally. For example, if there is this warmth in a house, then this warmth fills the space just effortlessly. So it just permeates the entire space, it fills it up. And in the same way, the mind is currently filled with this negativity just naturally. And because it completely permeates the mind, it fills the mind, negative actions arise naturally and endlessly since beginningless time until now. So this is how I have wandered in samsara since beginningless time until now, accumulating countless negative karma, so engaging in countless negative actions, all driven by afflictions and conceptual thinking. So these need to be confessed. Yes.
Tamji Shapaji Tandordina Lunga is in the trivial Dipa. The name Kanamanto, the Rayinji Dipa Sitara, Kepa Tang, Poma, Tustamambo Sungo and Dordina, Sosoki Chitara, Sangha Tamse Wano Hidepa, Teneti Datamja, Tamsin Chanyanro. Tene I pen a chamber domba, Sancho Simple domba, the domba ka, Shiba in a hand to Yabo Song Maravachi. Tene to Sochi, domba to Soyan Yamson, the social was here. The big kitchen which I Jotam, Kasi domba Maguna and could Diparangi, Dipareva, Dipa Dixamakin, Tolo Hiason. Then, Maranzo Tachata Namju Che Taha Ane Chigichi Megeva Chena Kom Megeva in Patsame Hakode Hanochi Riva Yang Muja Ponogichi Megeva Chen Te Megeva in Pachata Hama Holland the Yin Kanachi Keyo Mari Samsanachi Yungura they when I go to Chubana which is on a Chibacha, you raise on that. 주지자 로아절 제선데 다라레 기와 좀 제바 되어 토부여바 내 먹이와 좀 제바 동화 토부여바 산재의 심지 탐질 대답이 요래에서는 막 송이 요래지 저 자회 먹이와 좀 제바 동화 좋아다 뭐자 번역 근제 내 먹이와 좀 제바 대완 좋아지 요 말에서 참 집어지잖아요 얘는 다 자화를 지나 자화는 고동화들 링크 요런 게 케링 지기면라 근데야 지기면서 케라서 된대지나 고디바티 칼 제바스 니요 고디바 니르지 마도 제다 고디바 대 담보니네 디바 차대요 자오스 무슨나 대는 가능수지 다 자원 넘버 다 나주냠니 스니스나 콜렘데 하고요 렌데 하고서데 되는 남주랑 길롱아 이스비보니 말하기 먹이와 가르쳐도 루지코네 가르쳐도 마기고네 가르쳐도 세위고네 가르쳐도 나랑 답지시 힘조시 그래서 힘조시인데 다 먹이와 주고다는 데서 빵거다 샤세조 샤바세야 돼 빵거마도 그냥 마방와 전에 되는 게 안노 성공다 공단도 라위에 티보게 되는 샤트고 요사 말이 되는 가지처럼 먹게 왔다 되는 빵와이나 되는 거네 뒷바다 뒷바임 하고 된 되게 중임 하고 다들은 주바체 되는 주바체에서 되는 샤바체에서 되는 대빵 들으지는 되는 뒷바다 가엔 다 그랬어요 대마도 양아서 뒷바만 보죠 양때에서 지금 Dorzin Dhondrup 다 디바참마가 다성삼 양 디바 주야데 좀 만체비체 그 디바데 문돈에 접든지 제대는 디바든 다가 유사만 되는데 또 디바탐 제 디바를 되시는 주 바제와 되긴 제가 미성의 제유 하고 되는 노트 챔버스 하기 되는 거 세명 안타든 진앙제 맞아는 진앙제 당의 신체 남양의 디바트 지기면서 생각이 담자세 된저기 때문에 디바트 다다바트는 연구 요소에서 대들이 알아서지 남부 로마이 남부 냠네시엔서디 다치 내전 토보지 볼산도 담아되지로 내전 토보지 다 사제지 뭐 좁아지 공자야 근데 이 남부 클래스 배 잡고도 좀 냠네세 배 야보리 고래 얘네 사와카레 해놓고 카마르지 자고는 카마 담보 마이네 집바 충충이야 집바지 도 사파지 니스네 아트는 바기는 로고도 베티나 이즈네더니 만약에 담보 집바 충충이 파빵 기와 충충 서적 던져지는 드는 바기도 야야 제당 들지고서 해서
So for the confession, so we there's we confess any obscurations of our body, speech, and mind, and so there are different kinds of negativities. There's things that are kind of inherently negative, inherently non-virtuous, and then also naturally non-virtuous, and then there are those downfalls related to vows, for example. So they are kind of prescribed a kind of a virtue. So basically, we are breaking something that we promised, which makes it non-virtuous. So something that's naturally non-virtuous, something that becomes non-virtuous because we're bound by a vow. And then there's many different downfalls from vows, such as broken samaya from an empowerment we may have received in a Vajrayana, or a broken refuge vow, bodhisattva vow, and so on. However, even if you haven't taken any vows, a misdeed is still a misdeed. And so if you don't recognize that and confess it, then that negativity stays with you. It is said that if a monk breaks a vow, normally when a monk breaks a vow, then people immediately recognize that and they say, oh, look what he's doing, he's breaking the vow. And they see that, oh, what he's doing is really wrong. But when a layperson does the same thing, nobody thinks it's a big deal. They think, of course, that's what they do. They're lay people. Nobody thinks they're breaking anything or doing anything wrong. Actually, according to Rigdzin Somgan said that what's negative is negative for anyone, whether you are ordained or not. Whether monk or lay person, the result of virtue is always happiness. The result of non-virtue is always suffering. This is what the Buddha taught. When the Buddha taught, he gave these teachings for all beings. So that applies to anyone, and not just because one has taken a vow. The difference now with the ordained is that they have made a promise, they took a vow, and they explicitly declared, I will not do this. I promise I will not do this. So therefore, if they then break a vow, then they have it's kind of the negativity is twofold, because there is this natural misdeed which applies to everyone, and also there is the broken vow, that is the prescribed negativity, because they have taken the vow and they have broken it. But in general, anyone who does the same thing will accumulate negative karma, because that's just the nature of things. And so as Buddhist practitioners, this is one thing we need to understand. We need to understand karma, and we need to examine ourselves, our own body, speech, and mind. What did I do today with my body? What did I do with my speech? What did I do with my mind? And if you find something wrong, you have done something wrong, then try to give it up. And this is really the point of confession. Confession literally means laying aside. So it actually means giving up something. Confession doesn't mean just saying, sorry, I made a mistake. That's not really confession. Confession means, first of all, you have to recognize what you actually did. You have to actually admit, this is what I did, and that's wrong. And then once you recognized it, and once you understood that this was wrong, then you confess it. And you do that with regret. You regret and confess it. And then with that confession, as you confess, you also vow not to again repeat it. And then you don't again repeat it. And so when that is all complete, then this is how purification happens. The purification doesn't happen by just feeling sorry and saying a few words of confession. That's not real confession. Confession means laying aside. So if you, for example, did do something wrong, and then you say, I'll just do some vajrasattva practice and purify it, but you don't fully admit or really recognize it, the fault, because then you do it again. If you would recognize it, you wouldn't do it again. Then this still could lead to the lower rebirth. That alone will not purify it if you just do some vajrasattva practice and then do it again. So you must clearly see the fault of the wrong, and then develop a commitment to never do it again. So to completely abandon this. So that's true confession. And that's really foundational for us Buddhist practitioners. So often people like to learn about and practice these kind of higher practices like Mahamudra and Dzogchen, or they like to practice wrathful deities. And of course, they're good. They are good, all good practices. But you first must have a strong foundation. You must build that on a strong foundation. Just like when you're building a house, you begin with a stable foundation, brick by brick. You don't start on top. So you first begin by giving up the smaller misdeeds, and you begin by creating smaller virtues. And from there, you gradually improve. So.
Shapa hibate digba nimpo chagata digba te korang tene shala ko taje yoro digba tela tene tene digba nimpo shapa tara shapa zo tang hanzo te ju patan ju sendi jebe gone tene digba shaya tere ta zo ngarang namju lu tene ngage tene mageba drukundoe ta mageba choywa mageba chona liu gone drukundoe Then I get here down the thing and make a trip in the way. Yes, I'm not down then make a trip in the way. That's all I can do. See that. Imare Yanata numbers in the Katsilo Katsidawa Katsi. Then there's another Tangi Chungana Chibin Yamni the Katsila Lemdo. Roa Tangan Nachutin and Jora Katsetemdo. Roa Tinning and Nachutin Pimba Katsetukudo. David Jogiwa Katsetukudo. Don't have Jim McGill Katsepan, Tinting Hagging Ala Zero Jack. Benachans of Lecarando, Legando, the local Lomjuk Zero Jagiro. Mutsur Katsenrodo, Pakatsenrodo, Roa. Oh, then it is a Zero the scene the Ota, Mukatselando, Sohakudo, and Dango and Dango Minami, so you go to what Sate Doalosondoas. Oh, Betinai. Tangi give a Katseju, Suna Katsesa. Yano Magiva Katseju, Langiva Katsesa. Tingarang the Suchirogia. The dress it and ordina, the Namjuni Mare and Nagata Tinshi. Tinshi Latini, that get it palam, Sitayati, Negate, Titinity Nagi, Yamare, the get it balance yet, the Kichimuchaka.
In brief, so confession is the antidote to negativity, to non-virtue in your mind. And if you confess, in other words, lay aside, you can purify these negativities. And the key point when it comes to confession is to is to actually regret. And so without regret, a true purification will not happen. And so therefore always examine yourself with your body, speech, and mind. Every day ask yourself, really go through the 10 non-virtues and ask yourself, now with the body, have I committed any non-virtue, anything negative? What have I done with my speech? Have I
Mother?
She's frozen for a moment, just a moment. I hope.
your mind and reflect that so did you where did it cut out? Did you hear me?
Every day investigate regret.
Yeah, so every day examine your body and think that what have I done with my body, of those 10 non-virtues, and what have I done with my speech, and what have I done with my mind. So each and every day, it's important to take an honest look at your mind and reflect. Now, I've been a Buddhist for how many years? However many years I've been a Buddhist, and having been a Buddhist for that many years, has it really entered my inner being? Have I really integrated Buddhism in my mind? And how have I changed over the years? How much good have I done? How many causes for happiness have I really created? How many causes of suffering have I created in all this time? And think about this each and every day. So you can actually you count how many causes of happiness and suffering I have created. It's just like tracking your money. That's something that we all know how to do. We go to work, we make money, we budget carefully, we know how much we have to spend, and after some time we know how much we have left to spend, and so on. So in the same way, you track your virtue and your non-virtue. How much virtue have I gained? How much have I lost? And so in this way, apply mindfulness each and every day. And so with this reflection, then it's important to recognize what is to be adopted and what is to be abandoned. That's all. Then the next one, number 4, is rejoicing in the merit of others. I rejoice in the merit, all the virtue accumulated in the 3 times by the Shravakas, Pratyeka Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, ordinary beings, and the like.
다 개발래 좀 인제 개발 시기였는데 대랑아 좀 기시 여러가 지고레스 아 다이 니한테 자 좀봐 산초 시고 개와 탐제 차와는 인데 이 소소지 오게 되는 개와 접한테다 탐제나 막 기시 여러시 되는 너는 나랑 기시 사와 잠보 듣고요나 나랑 기시 여러시 오야 뭐 조선서가 말하는데 야 보리 디사 알아 니 희나 핀도 사와 접습소사 띵아랑아랑 양 기시 여러시 그래서 내가 친구 저기래스 그냥 맨날 다 지주소 도서나한테는 양남교래가 레터스인데 다 주소래가래니 들래가래니 이게 야보래가는 지시나시 잡주시 에 그래서 내가 친구요 주소나 레가래니 매니지 백업래 여러 조는 뭐 지금 캡상이요 말와 주소 땅으로 갑래 자고 근데 데이터 탐비 갑래 자 주소나한테는 로바시니 주소 개월에 인지미지 지시나시 잡혀서 그래서 내가 친구래스 단도나한테는 개월에 지시나세나 되니 마라야 소나 토고 인지 개월에 지시나는 마라가 소나 톱스 얘나 마라 소나 톱스 이란의 시고 맞대 얘나 이 야보 세파드는 가 근진 지고랑 근진 지고 대 야보 지기도 상한가 그러 근데 다 기탐지 때 가래진가 거기 야보지 밖에 소나미요 소나를 때는 딘제베 대와 토고리사 되는 대스는 되는 아주 지세랑 세고 좀 신들을 해서
So when we see others accumulating merit, others doing good things, others engaging in virtuous activities, then we should rejoice in that. Now, of course, when we think about the Shravakas, the Pratyeka Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, of course, we can understand that what they do is excellent and noble, and we can rejoice in that. But not just that, you should also rejoice in whatever others do. Even just an ordinary person, when they do something good, then recognize that, acknowledge that, and rejoice in that. And even yourself, even rejoice in your own virtue. If you do something good, you should acknowledge that and think that that was a good thing to do. I was really able to help him. And so be happy about that, rejoice in that. And so that's very important. And then, for example, when you come here to the Dharma Center, people support the Dharma Center even though they have also other work that they need to do. And that's not an easy thing to do because, first of all, there's no pay. And then on top of that, it's a lot of work. And it's therefore really hard to find really good supporters, people who serve at the Dharma Center. It's not so easy. So when you see somebody actually doing it, then you should rejoice in that and support them, support their efforts. And so that is rejoicing. And when you rejoice in someone's good deeds, then they're sharing the merit with you. You receive the same merit just by rejoicing in what they do. But of course, you shouldn't just do it so you get that same merit. You should do it because you actually recognize that they are doing something good and you're genuinely happy for them. So you think that, they're doing something really good. That's a really good thing. That is the cause of happiness. And I rejoice in that because that will lead to happiness. So because rejoicing leads to the merit that they create leads to happiness. That's the reason why it is necessary to rejoice, why it is good to rejoice, because merit leading to happiness is something to rejoice in. So.
다른 지시랑 해야 돼. 내가 침보린도 왔어. 랑게 기와 좀나 지시랑 해야 돼. 배나 나랑게 따라 Dikpadrona Hyakpa Singin Jupa Chedoa, Jupa Jen Dikpadin Takadoa. Oh, Pete Doxo de Taranga Kitara Narangi Sawa Zambor, Ying Yadabal Jisaya in the Yangarang Sawa Zambor Dubaina, Maranga Jisira said Hiran Chimbo Katsechina, there's something gave long procure, and there's nothing Jisiran the kitchen Buchagures. That's all courage Jisiran says that Nimbono. Nimbo the Nanga Julata, Senior want the jersey, the senior want the jersey as the rising in Chado Lang Chuchota. Kadun Chado you. That is young gom says the Chado Machiva. Yin Sawa Lando on the Telegizera. Ying Sawa Zambo Drupon, then Chado Machiva, Gizera. Then Chado Nimbo Chagger. Then Doden Chado the Nimbo Gizeras and Sulping, Nala Pinger. Maragati Chado Magevate, Dahasa te pa mebers. Maopan Chado Kelema Sava, to occupy Chimbo Yoresa.
So rejoicing is a really very significant practice to do, an important practice to do. And so we can also rejoice in our own good deeds. And so first, when we confess, it's like the opposite of confessing, and it's on the other side. So when we confess, we regret. So we bring to mind something wrong that we have done, and we regret it, we confess it, and then we purify it in this way. And when we rejoice, we take on the good things. So we let go of the bad things through confession, and we take on the good things through rejoicing. So if I do something good, that's a reason for rejoicing. It's good to rejoice about that, because if you do something good, that leads to happiness. And also, if others do something good, rejoice in that, because that's virtue. It leads to happiness. So rejoicing is really very important. And why? Mainly because the mind is always under the influence of afflictive emotions, and in particular, jealousy. Jealousy arises naturally all the time. It's always sort of there. Whenever we see someone else succeed or do good things, we feel a bit jealous. But if you practice rejoicing, you replace that jealousy with rejoicing. You don't feel envious or upset when you see the goodness, the fortune in others, but you feel happy for them. And when you feel happy for them, who really benefits from that? It's you yourself. You benefit because you purify the negativity of jealousy. And by rejoicing, you also prevent jealousy from arising again in the future. So that's the significance, the importance of rejoicing. So.
Tene chujung kholo ko swande bari chujung kholo ko swande ba so tandor dina ngarang so che lama give hini tendre yona tene chujung kholo ko chi din swande bors te so garijin de bors ne to mo gni pochaga chungho ko ya ta ngarang chi nyo mo ba ta tene to mo to sol tene give David jo give dream 동아 김게 빵마히 빵마히바 또 목이 톰데 여러와 어때니 대인님 볼때니 주중 콜로콜 텔레디는 아기 줄로 병시 냠니지 텔레디는 또 목네 저거 여러와 대인데 텔레 주중 콜로 고스완데 그 김시들이 아데 인지민지 야소한데 주나로 지에서 되는 나한테 돈한시니 들치고레스 되니 다르데 냥에는 만다바요 두바드 냥에는 만다바요 소한데 봐 다데 되네 라마 게베히니 산제도 산조서 바탐지 되네 코와치시 마동을 받으더니 신지기 동나더니 유로치스네 소한데 키친 보자고요 해서 왔다 야 주중 다라 그 유로치 냥에는 만다리 소한데 봤더니 눈바데 담모 아래로 개버자왕하게 최종 간저 사바에나 대 탐지 개버 자와데 심지 탐지 산제 토퍼스도 뭐고 요레스 안테 뭐하다 디덴데다 이나 돈디고네 다 초사 단접하잖아. 단접지 이거에서 해서.
Then number 5 is to request to turn the wheel of Dharma. So we often supplicate Lama or any spiritual teacher to turn the wheel of Dharma, to teach the Dharma. And the reason we do that is because this request is an antidote to ignorance. Normally, my mind is filled with afflictive emotions and especially ignorance. And because of ignorance, I do not recognize the causes of happiness, so I don't create them. I don't create the causes of happiness, and I don't recognize the causes of suffering, so I don't avoid them. So that is because of ignorance. So to dispel ignorance, I request the teachers to turn the wheel of Dharma, to teach me, so I can listen and learn. And through learning the Dharma, ignorance becomes purified. Then number 6 is the request not to pass into nirvana. So we supplicate the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas not to enter nirvana until the end of samsara, until samsara is emptied. We need their presence to guide us. So this is also an important branch. We need to request the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to stay with us and not pass away into nirvana. And then number 7 is dedication. So we dedicate whatever virtue, large or small, we accumulate, and we dedicate all this virtue for the enlightenment of all sentient beings. So that is it. Yeah, so these are the 7 branches for accumulating merit and purifying obscurations. So
Now
now let's have some Q&A, some questions and answers.
On the offering branch.
Don't hear so clearly.
Okay, yes, on the offering branch, when we say what we can afford, like, let's say I have a car and I really like my car, how can I offer it without, and own it at the same time?
Yeah. Da chuba phuwa kapla ra tini nganso khare gana khare chakpa chembo yona ra tini phugo res ra tini pena khu motor yona motor tipe gawo da tini motor ti yoba la tena tini ti phul chokpa phul ma chokpa marwa phul thoke yora ba motor mena motor phul thoke yora marwa khu motor yechang khu phul thoke yora ba yena yang khu motor phul na kopta thokere gadan gagre na yang teni koka mota yo mara phusade teni tikabla khachi gro kope gabo yora mota teni yoba yang re phuyang go re na yang ti phu go re yana ti khan da tena ka ta tis ka da da shi yong yora ba
Ejibire. Cho sena chini lang madana. Gawe jisi ya chiran te piya la tini gawe jisi ya dana tini cha pinu ndikri. Kasi sena lang yo na tini pinu pinga manawa. Ma pinu ndikri.
tena mena
Sena mina rewa.
teni phu go mare
Sena mina gawe jisi ya na pinu ndikri.
oh
Kasi sena yo na tini pinu ndikri mari. Te pinto yo mara basi. Suna jiran roho manda basi. Yang dancing jo no do donga jir. Sena le jiro.
So it depends on how much you like it, how much you cling to it. So if you don't if you don't have a lot of attachment to it, if you don't really care so much about it, and you really kind of rejoice in giving away, then you don't actually have to give it away, because then there's really not much benefit, because you don't really care much anyways. But if you do have a lot of fixation to it and you really don't want to let it go, then that's the time to actually let it go, because of the clinging. And so that is because by clinging and holding on, you're creating causes of self-grasping, and self-grasping then always turns into more greed. However, there is one method, a method that allows you to offer it and use it at the same time. So, for example, when we drink like a tea like this, then before we drink it, we make a prayer, we offer it, right? And after offering it, then we drink it. So you, when you offer it up to the 3 jewels, and then the 3 jewels give it back to you. And then when you drink it, you're drinking the blessings of the 3 jewels. Yeah, so and then with your car, you can first offer the car to the 3 jewels, think I'm giving it away, I'm offering it to the 3 jewels, and really do that with sincerely, really genuinely, with great heartfelt joy. Really, you're giving it away to the 3 jewels. And afterwards think, and now the 3 jewels have accepted it, and now they are returning it to me, so I can use it for my use. The main point really is that you are not too attached to the car. So you don't think that this is my car, but think that this is the 3 jewels car, and I'm just using it for now. And so then with that mindset, you can use the car.
Is there a danger?
So Amy is here. She's up there.
Is there a danger of rejoicing for your accomplishments where it becomes really close to pride?
Denise, also, yeah, finished?
Okay, you know. Okay.
What was that? The last one?
That's good.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Denise also been yapo chitrum na rwa teni la nga yapo chitrum na teni nga tela chiso yirang kom ko yo rwa ta yine nga yapo chitrup song samya ti yang nga ger ger sig rwa teni yine ti chiso yirang ngarang ki ke bala chiso yirang ma da nga ger samtan dawo dis young women there
dawo mari 당나라 벤중 포리 삼선은 논땡 하자진으로 하자잖아. 당나라 그 사와상부지 저서 얘는 핀바지 차서 상황을 가가가로 되는 하자 저거마다 돼. 되는 하자든 저와요. 하자를 되고 뇽바지 저기. 다들 지지랑 써야 돼. 나 샘니 저도로 제와다. 닝기든 저와요다. 사와 zambo스야 이해는 핀 사와지 차오는 때때 닝지기든 지여로 때때 담보를 거라니 다들 자대라.
그래서
대야 공론의 지여로 배나 나랑 짐바제 탕 배나 만냥 담마 동자지서 나가 사마제 돌로제 들으지나 다들 맞아 영향이 니가요. 당나라는 다 나는 벨랍치니도 나는 삼성 때때 다지든 내가 차요다. 아재지요. 건조선 투지스나가 배 저도를 대다 내가 지터야. 알아. 세납도 톱소사. 당연히 같이 지토성 사회에 건조성 두기다 문제소나 된 단절이 사태가 가와 공거로 지지야 드린들 다지 중요한 될 맞아 중요해요 말이야.
So pride and rejoicing are very different from the start. So pride is an afflictive emotion, and it arises from thinking, kind of, I'm better. I did this really great thing. I'm superior. So even you actually did something good, if you think that I'm so great, that is pride. But rejoicing, on the other hand, starts from a different place entirely. And rejoicing comes to begin with from a place of love and compassion. So the act comes from love and compassion, and then you rejoice in that good action. Then you're not feeling better or superior, but you just think that may this bring benefit. And so there is a difference in terms of where it really begins from. And so it really also comes down to the inner motivation. So if you help someone poor with pride, then you may think that giving them clothing and food and so on, you think that I'm so generous and I'm so incredible, these vast things that I have done and so on. So you may become really blown up by that, and that is because of this me, their self-grasping, and that makes it be an afflictive emotion. But if you think that in a more humble way, and you think that I'm able to do this through the blessings of the three jewels and my past merit, and so I'm not anything superior, but this is possible. This was possible through the grace of the three jewels. Then when you see it in this way, and then it becomes pure rejoicing. So this motivation is not afflicted.
There's a question from online.
Oh, okay, let me see.
Okay. It is, it's from CJ, and she asked, as many people have taken the Bodhisattva vow, how does that fit in with not, with going to Dewachen? She wants to know that we've committed to coming back to help sentient beings and the Bodhisattva vow.
Teni liti CJ Java Yorava, Teni Tanati Dewachen Kia, Murlam Tabia Tang, Changchu Sen Tompa Lea, Titan, this Kalta Yongwendo is kinds in a Changchu Sen Petompa Langna, Tening the Korbananga Digoris, Semchen Ropa Jagori, Tini Dewachen. The given Munlam Damna, Tening a Korba Targoris, Tening Ma Dogoris, Ra, did this Kalta Yongwendo is.
대야대 저들 잘을 고농의 지난 대화진 제 모란자는 가 심지 탐색이 지등아 대화지 싫은 로고삼 드레 심지기 돈 로고 삼나더니 득득을 양라 대화지 모란자 심지 탐색이 대화지 신간 링고 삼나 득득을 된가와 강해요 말이야.
So this also depends on the intention. And so if you make the aspiration prayer, the prayer to be born in Dewachen, and thinking that may I take birth in Dewachen so that I can benefit, help all sentient beings, then there is no contradiction at all between this and the Bodhisattva vow.
Okay. Is investigating our actions and speech and thoughts and in confession, and then the rejoicing, investigating the things to rejoice in, is that the process to train the mind what to adopt and what to discard? Is that?
So Lunga some touches yoris, rather so Lugi geva me geva kare dopsong nga sem me geva kare dopsong. Then it the so chinlang so shakpa pugora me geva ina shakpa pugori pangore. Then yapo ina geva ina teni dop gores, then it is jesu iran gores. Di samotangdang dirva, di panglam tiorva, panglam gine. Rivesta panglam sian tapalak yorva. Pangor to drop go yore, some panglam log yorva. Panglam nyamen sia dirve.
발라냐는 세테리 발라냐는 신디 나게티 팅히당 내가도 하마는 티 발랑 지요 말아 팅히도 저거 언더 개와린도 뭐 빼나 나랑 나가고는 뭐 개와지 히고나 야는 생각되는 뭐 개와지 뽑아지 제요는 대람산 팅히가 하고 팅히가 하고 타도 대마 타 땡하기 겨와당 들으친데 대 발랑이 있어.
Yeah, so this is exactly the practice of adopting and abandoning. And so for that, to practice adopting and abandoning, you need to have mindfulness. If you have no mindfulness, then you won't, first of all, even recognize that this is something that needs to be done or abandoned, so you won't do it. So first, for once, you need to recognize, oh, this is a good thing, this is virtuous, or even just a thought, or this is a negative thought, this is an affliction. And then immediately see that and immediately change that, change that state. So this is to actually practice not giving up and adopting.
Okay, so we do 4 thoughts. Then we take refuge, we do 7 branches, then we build a visualization, all of that, then we recite the mantra. And then on page 28, it goes, innate awareness is the form of Amitabha. Look at the mind that is free of subject-object duality. There is no other Amitabha than that. How wondrous is the truth body of self-knowing awareness. So we're like, oh, wait a minute. Amitabha is all my own mind. How does that work?
I think I have different page numbers, but anyways, Tira. Let me see. Here it is. Yeah, I got it. Yeah. Teni ta ba men yamen chira teni thamong an so ben ta loto number shikam teni gapsem tan teni ti yan lang tun dan teni mikpa sarta teni nyamba dan teni tamachi ki yorwa teni ti chartum teni rangrik nang ma thai go sungchin driver semla tula to patinas lung yorwa ti ta yang ka to chi yang men de thambong ata kya chen bo ba me tup ki yorwa teni chuba phula so patam ga cherwa teni mikpa sarta ngang tun la teni ta ngarang ki sem ba mere doas teni ngabe teni sungki yorwa teni ta ti khana da wo cha so ra teni ti sa ta khala gom gore ra ta nga sem rebe yana nga shema chi re
다 좋아도 배 오래돼. 지난 좋았네. 진통도 배리 왔어.
So that's a really great question, and it's actually a really kind of high level question.
토간로건 담보 견자 담보 트니 견자 니 트니 견자 섬스 담아 토갈렘로로 배야거나.
So when you are walking up a staircase, then you need to take the first step, and then you take the second and the third. And so if you keep taking step by step, eventually you reach the top.
내가 나한테 남부치는 공접단 돈담스 이해도 하세요. 공접시에는 나한테 내 담보봐. 다한내로 돈다 하마오니 그래서 돈담 등고 주고 저기 담보 공접을 남가 되는데 공접을 나는데 다한한지 다 마당 인당 다당 인당 teni yaga da doa da zonga so chiwi ki da zon zimba da chakwa yoro was chanjin yoros tete lamsang mi ba si tugu yo mar was nga sengwon te nizin de shokchin bo yo zet de ba yin teni ko ta nga ki giwa ta khamba tokan tripa na yisi o tambo china jamro teni sa ju sem ji tene chirang chosa give let the straps tene chirang magewa bangs tene da duse tamji mata baridas chutamji to tongmani redas ramba yidan tring da ramba yidan tring tama babdong kawan babu babdong mat dondamden babu da dondamden babu 계산이 안 오든 타마 가발레고 토갈레 걸어 베티나이 돈담들 레고서디 다 돈담 내로 코라나 당하면서 다당 인스 니스트고요 마다 다다 인스트고 말 사제 오바마 당아니 니스트고 말 참만 니스미 따와 다다들 지랑 저와도 되어라니 다라 라리 나와 타이크 종지 잡을 생각도 나와 타이 로나미 라리 추공은 서치에서 돈나오니 다 되어라 차대 돈나오니 나서 추담제랑 이니 맞아 봐 니스 맞아 봐 니스 미비 의 산재 밤에 차대다 대 마도버스는 대 동부 탑스는 대 담보 르바기 단로고 레사 문에 저 돈다 또 사는 데니 다 공들이 지랑 다 이나도 받을 때니 냠내 맞는 저기 얼고 돈다 또 살바 되니 이나도 받는 두 살바샤
And so, first of all, in Buddhism, we speak of the relative and the ultimate truth. And so regarding the relative truth, that is first taught to beginning practitioners or all those who have not realized the ultimate truth yet. So the path begins with the relative truth. And on the relative level, there is a perception of self and others, me and you, good and bad. There is grasping a certain way we see things in our mind, and there is different fixation in our mind, attachment. And our minds perceive a dualistic reality. And this is something we cannot remove just like that all at once. So we have to start gradually, just like climbing a staircase to the top of a house. So therefore, first we begin with taking refuge, and then we develop bodhicitta, and then we begin to engage in practice. We accumulate merit and we purify negativities. We understand that all phenomena are impermanent, all compounded phenomena are impermanent. And finally, we realize that all phenomena are empty. Everything is empty of self-nature. So that's sort of the ultimate, the rooftop. This is where what we ultimately reach. We understand that ultimately everything is empty. So the natural state, in reality, self and others do not truly exist separately. There is also no separation between yourself and Amitabha. So from the ultimate perspective, all things are empty. And seeing this is to accomplish the twofold, kind of the wisdom that is free from dualistic, from grasping at two. So we're not grasping at me and Amitabha, but we see it all as one. So that is the wisdom of non-duality. But then, because as beginners, we have not fully realized the ultimate reality, ultimate nature, we need to gradually practice. Of course, if you already have a direct realization of emptiness, then there would be no need for any of these stages, like the 7 branches, because the 7 branches, in essence, are already fully included in that realization. So.
kinza ya tokan roje lamgan ro tendo kunzu gu chutam ya dondang ge nelo to ke kunzu la ne matin pa tam to ne tom man jers tene kunzu ge tene nyamne lob yo se tene ya nelo to to ya te go yo sa isa nelo to ba ina tene ta te nelo to ba tele tene sanje pa mi da ta ngani nismi pa cha de nismi pa cha de pa tele tene ngas nelo to
So this the path of the staircase while you're walking up the stairs step by step. These steps on the staircase are the relative Dharma practices that we do, and each step going upward, each Dharma practice is for the sake of realizing the ultimate, of reaching the top. It is said, don't give up the relative, because only through it, the ultimate can be realized. So if you ultimately truly realize ultimate reality, what you realize is that you and Amitabha are not two, and there's no separation. That's the ultimate reality.
There's a question online from Kim. She's asking, her husband died, Pierre, 15 days ago, and he did many good deeds. He fed people around the world, and there are many people pray for him. Now she takes comfort in the idea that he's going to go to Dewachen. Is that a natural or appropriate way to respect or to honor his death, or is she grasping too much?
Pam said tini nima chunga ngun la morangi turok drongsong. Tini kong chitang mi be zangbore keba mambo drok tini kasakala mi korang be gawo tini tanda korang chito menlang kya kitok. Tini morangi samna ta korang be ni yabor shire tini tebe korang ta Dewachen gishing na ta kyaja kya ko gie songs mo des yiche yore de la. Tini di samna ta kol Dewachen la gie songs ta kondik songs samyati this somebody the lot in digitues yana the lot yang zimba always takas zimba tuna
Dewachen chudang korang ba sambo se yimping lega yapo leon tar tete le zambo rowa. Ina korang Dewachen roya lo yo reves. Korang Dewachen ronu lo yo tene ta gewa dudene jaja kon ro tu yo res. Tene yang Dewachen ronu lo mina korang le zambo dudena kon le zambo in reve dewa tu yo de ina dewa den che yo samare. Kasi dewa ji che atela inji mi chi dewa ji shinkami ila trimba sanje yonti obami ke yonti trini tene atana inji mi che go samba lo te go hore. Te mina tene ha ti dindung pati mina te che yo samare es. Yena korang ti sawa zambo tu yo ti le reve ti naya mi par chaga mare korang lu kawala na ti le gen reve ti yo kare es ya.
So first of all, generally, if he was a very good person and did many good things, then that is positive karma. That's good karma, and will definitely result in happiness. That will be good results. But in terms of being born in Dewachen, to be born in Dewachen, just to have some good karma is also not enough. There also must be a clear wish. That's one of the requirements. One must have a clear intention. I have to be born in Dewachen. I really want to be born in Dewachen. And that also means understanding the qualities of the Buddha Amitabha and forming a firm resolve. By all means, I will be born there. I must be born there. So you must have this kind of resolve. Oneself must have the resolve in order to be born there. And if that is not present, then one is not necessarily born there. One is hard to be born there, but there's still good karma, and good karma will always lead to good results. So even if not born in Dewachen with good karma, he will take a good rebirth anywhere else. But in terms of directly going to Dewachen, that requires this very a kind of focused intention.
Tene chera samno tantan den de dos ta korang mo zambo le zambo sa Dewachen chegri le zambo yore sa ten de dos le gewa chen de toye ko rangi chini ro de chera samno tantan den de dos ya.
But then also your way of thinking about it, it's good. It's good. You're correct in thinking the way you think. Of course, you want him to go to Dewachen, and you recognize that he did many good things. He was a very good person, so he will experience happiness as the result of that, because that's just the natural way things work. So therefore, thinking in this way is a good way of thinking. It's a correct way of thinking.
Lunch? Oh, give on the